name is KJ, and you're listening to the Supernatural Opinions podcast, where some things in this world are supernatural. My pronouns are she, they, and this is the podcast where I talk to my fellow Supernatural fans about Supernatural, and we share our Supernatural opinions. I enjoy this more than I remember.
It's a fun episode, and the research was weird.
I'm glad that you did so. I didn't do my notes until this morning, really, so.
Same.
That's really unusual for me.
Oh, okay.
Let's just do it.
Okay.
Make sure that we're actually recording it. I didn't imagine that. Okay, good. Today we're recapping Season 1, Episode 17, Hell House, which originally aired on March 30th, 2006. And even though this isn't going to come out till early December, we're recording it on Halloween weekend. It's very fitting.
Yay.
Here to help me do that is my guest of the week, Meredith.
Hello, my pronouns are she and her, and I came upon some cursed research when I was researching earlier today.
Excellent. Not that it'll matter, because again, it'll be December, but what are you being for Halloween?
I'm dressing up as the Phantom of the Opera.
That's excellent.
Yes, I'm very excited. I'm gonna take lots of pictures.
I am being Crazy Cass for Halloween.
I love it. Just like white pajamas.
I found a scrub top. It's blue, but it's close.
Cool.
Yeah, and I have a coat that is somewhat similar to the trench coat.
All I gotta do is wander around and talk about bees.
Yeah, and I didn't have scrub pants to go with my top. But I have these pajama pants with polar bears on them. I feel like he would appreciate that.
That's something he would wear. Polar bears are great.
I feel like Cass would appreciate the polar bear. They're also the comfiest pants I own, and scrub tops are really comfy. I'm going for comfy vibes.
I love it. That works.
This week's episode will contain spoilers for this episode and may reference previous episodes, but won't contain spoilers for later episodes of Supernatural. Although we do meet some recurring characters, so we might talk a little bit about that.
We'll see what happens.
This week's episode is titled Hell House, and that's probably a reference to the 1973 John Hughes film, The Legend of Hell House, based on the Richard Matheson novel Hell House.
Well, okay.
Reading more or less directly from the Wikipedia page, it's a story about a group of researchers who spend a weekend in the former home of a sadistic murderer where previous paranormal investigators have been killed.
That sounds fun.
That feels like what they named the episode after.
Yeah. Paranormal investigators.
And this week's episode was written by Trey Calloway and directed by Chris Long. I didn't recognize either of those names, but it turns out that was on me because I should have.
Oh, what did they do?
Chris Long and Trey Calloway both have current projects in production and pre-production. Chris Long also directed 27 episodes of The Mentalist, 13 episodes of Gilmore Girls, and 5 episodes of the original Charmed, just name like a few things. I obviously love the original Charmed, and Jared Padalecki was on Gilmore Girls for a long time.
Yes, sounds like you should have recognized his name.
This is his only episode of Supernatural, which is also true of Trey Calloway, and I was so pleasantly surprised with Trey Calloway's IMDb page. He's an executive producer on the Grey's Anatomy spin-off Station 19. He wrote one episode of that as well. He's written 5 episodes of Revolution, one of Eric Kripke's other shows, and 5 of 9 episodes of one of my favorite one-season wonders, Whodunit. I screeched a little bit when I saw that on his IMDb page. It is the perfect summer show. I wish it had more seasons.
Oh man, that sounds fun.
It's like a fake reality show.
Okay, I'm sold.
I don't know. It might be classified as reality show, but it's really scripted. And basically the premise is that there's 13 people in a house, like a mansion, and they're all competing to be the last person alive. And every week there's a murder to solve. So like one of the people in the house dies and gets fake murdered. Then they all investigate the murders like they're playing like a real life Clue.
I want to play this.
And then they present their arguments for who they think that the murderer is. And then whoever is like the most off, like whoever's like the least correct, gets killed off next. Until it gets down to the last person in the murder, and then I think they won like some money or something at the end. It's amazing.
Like a lot of fun.
I remember one person got killed by a cougar in the kitchen of this mansion, and I think somebody got into a golf cart accident. It was fantastic. It was only on for 1 season, but it was so good.
Gotta be creative.
I loved it, honestly. So I was so excited to see that pop up on IMDb. On to the recap itself. Apparently this was the first episode to air on Thursdays, which is good for Castiel, Angel of Thursday. But also put them in a time slot, which I'm pretty sure directly conflicted with Grey's Anatomy. That's not the giant I would have wanted to be taking on in 2006.
They were gutsy.
Like, the Thursday, 7 to 10 p.m. time slots are like prime TV. Everything good is on during that time. Only good shows get that time slot. But still, it's not what I would want to be having to choose between, especially in 2006 when DVR that wasn't super popular. We're starting off 2 full months back in Richardson, Texas. We've got a bunch of dumb white kids dressed in plaid who have walked in the dark to an abandoned house. Once again, abandoned houses are not safe. I know sometimes it's hard to find things to do with your friends in a small town, but take abandoned buildings off the list.
Just please, just, there's like disease in there. There's
also, I'm pretty sure
boards.
later in my notes I refer to these as Dumb Teenagers 1.0. Because there's, like, different groups of dumb teenagers at this house.
I swear, horror relies so much on, like, dumb teenagers, and why?
Dumb Teens 1.0 have arrived. This is also probably nothing, but the city stuck out to me because of a season 8 thing.
Okay.
Probably nothing, because Richardson, Texas is, I believe, a real town, so it's probably they just picked a town at random. But Sam has a love interest in season 8 named Amelia Richardson, and she also lives in Kermit, Texas.
Oh,
so
fun.
It just seemed weird that, like, you know, it was like a Texas tie-in that her last name is the name of this town that they're in. But probably nothing. Probably a coincidence.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Richardson's one of those more common names.
Yeah. All of these teens are somehow 15 and 35, depending on the angle of the camera at any given moment. Like, it pans over to them, I'm like, these people look 35, and then it pans a different direction, and I'm like, oh, no, they look 14.
Just like, wait, jawlines and wrinkles. Oh, never mind.
Yeah. They decide that they're going to go in because they lack common sense. One of the guys offers to hold the girl's hand, and she, like, begrudgingly, like, slaps her hand into his, and I love her. The first thing that we see inside the house is this, like, symbol that's going to be, like, important to the episode. It's literally just, like, spotlighted right off the bat to make sure that when it's revealed to be important, we've definitely seen it.
By the way, it exists! I did some research on it too, so we'll be talking about it a bit more later.
Excellent. It's basically an old abandoned house covered in spray paint. One of the guys, Craig I think his name is, telling some scary story about the ghost that allegedly haunts this house, stringing up girls, according to his cousin Dana. They go down to a root cellar area and they find some, like, canned goods, and Craig says that it's just a bunch of skank-filled jars. What do we think that Craig's understanding of the word skank is? Because unless the implication is that the jars are filled with human beings, I don't know what he meant when he said skank-filled.
I don't know. I had the same thought. I feel like it's just, like, writers in the 2000s trying to, like, badly imitate how they think teens talk.
Yeah, because I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Although, I even checked the DVDs to make sure that wasn't, like, an extended scene, because in a correction for Hookman, by the way, listeners, the last time that we didn't get a joke like this was when Dean was teasing Sam, calling him Francis, and we didn't get the joke because the scene was shortened in the aired version, but there was an extended scene where Sam was on the phone with a fake police ID, and he was using, the name was Francis somebody that he was using, and that's why Dean called him Francis. We were confused because the setup for the joke was cut and they just left the punchline, and so I checked the DVDs to make sure that wasn't what was happening here. No, nothing like that. Not a single deleted scene made the discs for this episode. They're goofing around a bit when they see a girl, like, hanging from the ceiling, and they obviously freak out. Yeah. Cut to Sam asleep as the Impala roars down the road, and Dean shoves a plastic spoon in Sam's mouth and takes a picture with his flip phone because it's 2006. And then cranks up the music until Sam is startled awake. The song is on Prime is Jaded Little Love Song by Terramara. In the DVD, the song is Fire of Unknown Origin by Blue Oyster Cult, which is the album that we're going to see later in the episode. They also had to edit out Dean singing along because obviously when they changed the song for Prime, like, Dean was singing the lyrics to Fire of Unknown Origin, and they didn't make sense when the song was no longer Fire of Unknown Origin.
The funny part is I was just watching this episode and I think the subtitles said it was Blue Oyster Cult.
Yes, they do. They have the correct titles for the songs in the captions.
It's hilarious.
I also listen with the captions on.
Especially with the way Blue Oyster Cult features in the rest of this episode.
Yes, they do it again at the end of the episode with where the captions say the actual song, but the actual song is not present.
Yeah.
Sam warns Dean not to start their prank wars from when they were kids up again, and Dean reminds Sam of a time when Dean put Nair in Sam's shampoo, and Sam makes a point to warn Dean to remember that he's the one who started it. I don't think that this happened when they were kids.
Okay.
The writers just did not have a good grasp on what their childhood was like when they wrote this episode, and, like, that's fine. But there is no universe in my mind where John Winchester just, like, lets them play annoying pranks on each other. There's no way that doesn't make John just, like, enraged with them for wasting time.
He was absent a lot. Like,
yeah, I guess when he was gone, maybe.
They probably just played pranks on each other when they were alone in the motel room.
Dean allegedly caused Sam to lose all of his hair, though. And I can only imagine what John Winchester's reaction to that would be, and I just feel like they wouldn't go that far.
Yeah.
But you know what? Young boys don't always have the best judgment. Maybe it went that far. Also, Nair has to really sit on the head, I feel like, for it to, like...
I feel like this says more about the way Sam uses shampoo than it does about their prank wars.
Yeah. Also, it smells awful and it burns, so... Sam apparently does not have the sensitive skin that I have.
So, a word of advice, do not put Nair in someone's shampoo. You risk actually hurting them.
Also, if you get that in your eyes, like, just no.
It ain't good.
Apparently, a month or two has passed since the kids were in the house. The girl who was hanging was not found by the cops when they checked out the house, so they never found that girl's body.
Oh no.
I wonder why.
That's terrible.
Dean and Sam are amused/embarrassed on behalf of all the readers of hellhoundslayer.com, which is where Sam's been getting his information about this case.
Which is really funny because online forums actually figure into my research too.
All the time.
Yep.
Not even just my research for this episode. Like, you can learn a lot from Reddit. Like, when in doubt, someone on Reddit knows.
I try to stay away from Reddit. It scares me.
There's some dark places on Reddit, but, like, also, if you just need to know about something really specific, I guarantee that there's a forum or a page where somebody knows what you want to know. Dean asks where they can find the kids, and Sam says the same place you can always find kids in a town like this. Cut to the Rodeo Drive-In Diner. What?
Was there one of those in our town?
No.
I just stayed at my house, so I don't know where kids in a small town hang out.
We did not have a place to hang out at all. Like, you had to go hang out in someone's house if you wanted to hang out. We did not have a good place to hang out.
Yeah.
This next scene can best be described as like that scene in Mean Girls where everyone tries to describe Regina George.
It's a fun scene, actually.
All of the kids have wildly different versions of what they saw. They can't so much as agree on the colors of the walls or the girl's hair. Nothing. They have no details in common.
In their defense, it happened a couple months ago, and it was probably traumatic.
Yes. They play another Blue Oyster Cult song here on the DVDs, Burnin' For You. I didn't look up what the replacement song was. It wasn't important. They all direct the voice to Craig Thurston. So his name was Craig. I was correct.
Good job.
They find him at his job at the record store and claim to be with the Dallas Morning News. And Craig says he's also a writer.
Good job, Craig.
Craig tells Sam and Dean that sometime in the 1930s, Malachi Murdoch, excellent name by the way,
Was it Malachi or Mordecai?
I think it was Mordecai.
Okay.
Either way, excellent name.
Oh yes, very excellent. Very biblical.
Excellent name. Lived in the house with his 6 daughters. The depression hit them hard and he decided to kill off the 6 daughters before they could starve to death and then hung himself. While Craig was talking, Dean was leafing through the records and he picks up Kansas's Point of No Return. So that's just a fun little Kansas reference.
Is that the album Carry On Wayward Son is on?
It is not. I left it. Or Dust in the Wind, which is also referenced pretty frequently.
Okay.
But it was a Kansas album and it was just funny.
Fair enough.
To have a Kansas reference. There's a lot of references in this episode. Trey Calloway had some referencing to do.
Good job, Trey.
Or maybe it was that was the work of director Chris Long. I don't know.
Good job, whoever did it.
Either way, one of those two was really having fun with the references. Kind of both. It was a group effort. Craig swore that he was a skeptic and he doesn't know what to believe, but he doesn't want to go back to the house. Sam and Dean walk out to the house and Dean's EMF meter is going off, but he thinks that the readings are being screwed up by some inexplicably placed power lines. There's no reason for them to be there, but here they are. There's no reason. This house must have been owned by someone after it was owned by Mr. Murdoch, because like the 1930s would not have the electricity and it definitely still wouldn't be on.
No.
If it had it at all, which would have been crazy because it's in the middle of nowhere.
Not sure when power lines started to become common, but I don't think they would have been that common in a town like this.
Not that common in the 1930s, especially not near any other houses. Like
as I was saying, I don't think they'd be common in a town like this.
But like this just isn't even close to the town. Like they literally like barely, like a car barely can get out there. Like
yeah, exactly.
It's not even like close to a town or anything. Like just they're inexplicably placed for plot.
There we go.
Throw us off the scent. Dean makes a comment about the marks on the wall, and Sam points out that one of them wasn't used until the 60s, well after Mordecai Murdoch's death. Dean is drawn to that one actually important one and asks Sam if he recognizes that one. He doesn't. Dean says he recognizes it, but he wasn't sure where from, and Sam says it's painted and it looks like it's pretty recent.